GWENNYN as giaull marrek.
Claare na Gael, shen enam Claare Shaws, William Wordsworth. This is Robert KELTEK Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
And between now and 7 o'clock, I'll be presenting this programme, Claare na Gael, in the English language as Sagilg, and in the Manx Gaelic, GWENNYN, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banachdan Durish. On her visit to the island in 1828, Dorothy Wordsworth is walking in and about Douglas from the South Quay, where she's based, and she's visited the family home of the Reverend Robert Brown in New Bond Street. We join her again now on the Red Pier, as we shall hear a regular perambulation for her. Tun fairly John Seward and Ongus and Surnsach agus a tai Benrich Renfield. To Renfield Grey, de hud boerlach de jaru de veleschen, bent in de chushen inrichen Jane Tail, genachten de weisen onvol, as for Enoch, benten de cushion spirit oil. Well, Chanel and fairly Seward tiggle weg Shaw. We start with a Breton song that means goodbye, Kenavo. But GWENNYN sounds quite cheery about it. Tashu GWENNYN Radio Vanning, Stashu na Nashun, Viskuller Skeliamach, Vaidulish, Ellen Vanning.
Even
The voice of GWENNYN Louarn from a Breton-speaking family living in Rennes, the Breton capital in Haute-Bretagne, which is more French-speaking or Gallo. But I think we've heard that from GWENNYN before, Kenavo, but another song from GWENNYN later on that we haven't heard. Dorothy Wordsworth is looking eastwards to Westmoreland, but she says, no hills to be seen from pier. Steam packet arrived. On sands to Crescent. That's to say that she walked along the sands of the bay from the harbour to Strathallan Crescent, where the Putnams lived. She'd made the Putnams' acquaintance after arriving in Douglas, but she doesn't stop there. She makes, she says, ascent to KAARJYN. Getting the name wrong, she's obviously talking about Kirkconkin, which she describes as a village on the steeps. Fine view of Douglas Bay, etc. But the night dull. Dusty, long walk home. Tired. And so back to the South Quay with brother and sister Joanna and Henry Hutchinson, who were also playing host to theirs and Dorothy's nephew, Willy Wordsworth, William Wordsworth's youngest son. July the 1st, Tuesday, writes Dorothy, with Joanna to the shore and alone on the pier. Very little air even there, but refreshing, and the water of the bay clear and green as the Rhine. Close and hot in the streets, but the sun gets out when the tide comes in. A breeze, and all is refreshed. Tashin gin GWENNYN an early Seward, the Jaru tashin KISSACK GWENNYN an early Seward nod the valley gint phonograph, as te braicht J. Renfield. As cren fes an unval as Enoch. Nod an gimiach merish G. Gedot mi tiggle a gesola, ach gerau mi giri goirish shen, me so henk mi rish shen renne gobble. Me so skumma Dutch blioes, ach snello shira an minen, cren fe nach. Hoop mi a fe shem de bew as beggen de gromach, as kerelem de chorase. Henke leis an eb. Rishalid henke rish gin tort gus an eer immerke kerchinach egge, as krome schiest de hingel rom. As renne de vier slechtige rom, gaus dreggerij, genel mi giri han menen be de jaro genel. Ha noddens jino imme joud de berge dems. Ha berge je imme be dou. Ha noddens giat ne. Renne square wide ol tajemach, as ren an eer chumme krautach skeliamach herish an edenegge, gurish redan skebe herish echter an ostje. Well, we started by saying Kenavo, now it's Traa de gholl. Time to go home.
Traa de gholl, horo, horo, Traa de gholl, Traa de gholl, Traa de gholl, horo, horo, Traa de gholl. Nudgerud the goodnish, horo, horo, nudgerud the goodnish, horo, horo, nudgerud the goodnish. Immigas a Doris, horo, horo, immigas a Doris, immigas a Doris, immigas a Doris, horo, horo, immigas a Doris. Traa de gholl, horo, horo, Traa de gholl, Traa de gholl, Traa de gholl, horo, horo, Traa de gholl.
Annie KISSACK led CAARJYN COOIDJAGH through her song for the end of the day at Munjavega, Traa de gholl. As ma early benten de blioes, Creshen logoliu. Tret ed zoliu tau fame, as the fissed na ginu riu fame an year be, shen oliu. Ta CAARJYN CAARJYN Maya, Gurchin an early Seward. For sure great lesh munga cam grena je crouch skin inch. Ta fissem na be fame arach ses na vios. Liam de renne fagen through bodule and jarnes, pert de noiges on him. Fair en het jelirach go lersen rish, kemmerk, jerinach en liedes eschen, tostig sterneishach. Lord tamelt gier, honnig mi, ag a treis en de beche ons verdeel de roltrish, ve poetjach, as mar so henk mi by. Na san mi so lei hug mer ma hon. De kaarjyn ha beidens jit genor lie, ach, kaart ag a treis shot a chwisha nesem de raumi manre de irius gholl. Chomas shen, smiliam de wel begem de chorsha an Traa. De haker mooi, sheriff fis soja legion, as an charn godalming as Quincy Nies. And so back to Dorothy Wordsworth. On sofa after dinner, walk on pier, and to tea at Mrs. Putnam's. Excellent fare, and neat handsome place, etc. Well, at Mrs. Putnam's is Strathallan Crescent, and there she meets Mrs. Pinnis, a handsome, dignified woman in mourning. Note her for 34 years of age, and astonished to hear she was the mother of 14 children, 10 of whom, all sons, she had buried at about 3 or 4 years of age. She's quite a friend and companion to Mrs. Putnam. A chastened cheerfulness in the expression of her face, with healthy dignity. Her husband, a printer, bereft of his senses on the death of one of his children, a pretty boy, blooming and healthy, with a cut just above upon his forehead. The mother has yet another son, and she expects to lose both. Yet handsome, healthy children. Well, there's infant mortality accepted fatalistically by Mrs. Pinnis, as Dorothy Wordsworth calls her. However, her husband was a printer, and I think that may identify him as a Penrice, Mr. Penrice, rather than as given by Dorothy. And so, says Dorothy Wordsworth, home at 10. Grey night. The musicians of Cornish dance group ROS KELTEK playing for a traditional dance set, and marrek, the Cornish night. Sioldiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio fannin, she Claare na Gael vis rechlaschen kaartnish, mish Robert Kutin Carswell, Robert a Karslach.
Ave a tell of old Bobby Bob.
Tá Claare na Gael reclash na seacht an lug giaull scéile meach an Chirseo, inadega radio vanning as Reichú a Chraman agart. Tá Claare na Gael maast an a podcast an jinteg radio vanning nis vis regadan nasty inadega radio vanning heen, na trúd an Reichier the podcast Joe, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. July the 2nd, Wednesday morning. Much rain in night, hazy on the hills. A sudden wind gets up. Mr. and Mrs. Putnam called to inquire after us. Rain most of day. In evening walked to Portashee, the harbour of peace. Foggy and hills invisible, but stream very pretty. Shaggy banks, varied trees, splendid rose bushes and honeysuckles. Returned by sands, a beautiful playfield for children. The rocks of gorgeous colours, orange, brown, vivid green, in form resembling models of the Alps. On pier, 2 steam vessels. Sickish ladies. There were several steam vessels regularly operating in and out of the island by the late 1820s. They were wooden paddle steamers, though iron-hulled steamships were being built from about 1821. The Mona's Isle Steamship Company, which became the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company, wasn't set up until 1829, with the Mona's Isle in service from 1830, so all still in the future. Whatever steam vessels Dorothy Wordsworth saw, it was through a haze, apparently, though she observes the foggy air not oppressive. De Van Helsing na haise chamber studeresem, as gierige cortus gin tek na hakeren. Te gin de wel smunjen, ljorish vis girach je uljen na min fointen, de gin chit liedjanjach. Genelle giri weg de risjestjach an overegge gin oor. Beiden na chor leis merem leis geert an surnsach, ach der ami smunjen lukt bij courager soele geers jerry, foddy na mai leis weg golrish. Va oor eljaanrish, foddy na ginnach Renfield Lord gesê ROS Traa as treveschen as mischen en lummergen. Hoor me na hai ons mee na leer a stoilegge. A steed shen vis de KAARJYN COOIDJAGH gemaach, per de 3 inch nach onsen. Tre henk mis jaag aan, doorte, tjolirach, maar de berg of 2 sterwe vocht en erne melen egge. Kree me gaan aan minen. Spachtel wij de rauwe naai kaart. Vasmunjen ginnistek, kuline en overegge, eer egge dunje benrich. Now, in keeping with the first couple of songs we've heard, Scottish singer KARINE POLWART takes The Parting Glass.
That ere I had, I spent it in good company, and of all the harm that ere I've done, alas, it was to none but me. For all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fell to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I've had, they are so could wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all.
Excellent piano of David Mulligan and the voice of Karine Polwart in that version of The Parting Glass. And what a fantastic, wonderful concert they gave for an Chruinnjagh. Ren mi reiche de redden maag moire woire. Kreimen in giaull rer de warrel heen, vrij mi. Gedregger er is shalidjach, ich eulje me giertemush, a soes, a schies, maar de bege jerkel is vedden briege zijn jach son freigert. Gaan al mi giri aan minen erbij, door hij en zacht, vest, lesjelach. Wij gin de rauwe goes ginno er een uitnjegen, as maar zo wij foam GWENNYN jay, de wij giaull de wij kinjel, maar zo doort mi. Mailjat bljoos, as tau giri bljoos. Oh, thee, ach, shen kat de loor, genaidend u wij burrit me gewoon shen. Ach, vrij mi jay, krenach wat moet kostna of joos gen kostna een anem, yes. Wij gien de rauw sjo kore voor de gilje, maar zo dair meer sen. Sport brauw, beards, tred enjach, tred hau getlach moei en shen, lesh na an minen jay tau zenen da charchwulligen as duolien, as ushigen as kit, kronen as tweetel as miauwel ulje magita moods. July the 3rd, Thursday. A fine morning, but still misty on hills. Mr. and Mrs. Garside calling prevented our walk. Evidently friends of the Hutchinsons, I suppose, but otherwise no clue as to who the Garsides were. But, says Dorothy Wordsworth, after dinner on Douglas Heights. The sea rocks tremendous. Wind high, a waterfowl sporting on the roughest part of the sea. Flocks of jackdaws, very small. A few gulls. 2 men reclined at the top of a precipice with their dogs. Small boats tossing in the eddy, and a pleasure boat out with ladies. Misery it would have been for me. She was sick on the boat coming over, of course. Misery it would have been for me, she says. Mr. Someone's guns fired from the ship. A fine echo in the harbour. Saw the flash long before the report. Well, it's not clear what the name of the captain or owner was, Mr. Someone, and as we've seen, Dorothy wasn't necessarily accurate on names, so it might not help us. But looking at the Douglas shipping list in the Manx Sun and the Manx Advertiser for the 3rd of July, 1828, 2 vessels arrived under Captains Fell and Gael, and 3 departed under Captains Quain, Campbell and Oman. So you can take your pick from those 5. Another song of farewell now, but Welsh band Isle Simidiad are saying farewell to a bugbear of a goblin.
Well,
Farewell, Bookie Bow. Bookie is a sort of goblin or spirit and sprite, and that's subtitled Can Sally Bach, Little Sally Song, and that was from the first album by Welsh band Ail Symudiad. Regardless of the old track, writes Dorothy Wordsworth, I got into the middle of the precipitous rocks above the sea and had to scramble up. Had I been quite alone, my head would have failed. We'll never do the like again. Caught in heavy shower. Mr. and Mrs. Putnam to tea. Sir William Hillary saved a boy's life today in harbour. Well, I looked in the Manx newspapers but couldn't find any mention of that. Most of the news coming from newspapers brought in from elsewhere. But of Sir William Hillary, Dorothy Wordsworth says, he raised a regiment for government and chose his own reward, a baronetcy, and now lives here on £300 per annum, and Miss St. John with him and Lady H, and pays £100. Keep their carriage, and are here fine folks. Well, Lady H in this case was Emma Tobin, his second wife. Sir William had earlier been attracted to the much younger Sarah St. John, and although nothing came of it as a romance, she stayed a loyal manager for him. Tan biosoch eds, tautigel, as signed at surrel na an mina knock. Fe Jane the rau riddenach jinno an shiltnas egge, a fair hugging a mare egge gusachlation, as renne doonan a sulien egge, as crunich a stjach at the John, cart mortigilje beg, tret an edden egge gholl unlach a shieben. Va riddenach, trimshach an shove jinno warm. Hugge dau lessoon, yes, a fair ve Jane dau nach neach peche varom, begach peche. Ged de rauwe chumme kjoutjes, ben van broen fezeg na cabanegge. Scronnel wei de rauw strende vorre intje nachtje wersen. As, les vissem nacht ren de temenegge, roosnish, higgel, ridden va gien de wei jory day, smunny me de gin en karsnes sjachs en eignegge gemaias oddins as gholl merish. Van gid geem de chor ersen cor barnt on hem rish, maar zo, vrij mi jay, as mish lot brouwer de loer de ginnige klaasjen mi truut na kleesjen duntegge. Well, after sunset this evening, it's Shan Neil Brija, and that was Brija Campbell from Antelian Skianach, the Isle of Skye, playing the Scottish small pipe, Spanish, the giant of doubt and despair.
The Nation Station.
Tashu geisach rish station radio vanning, Monsieur Claare na Gael and Claare Shaw, Merampeen, Robert Dean Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Velu geri pert de Hugo, de kleine na Kachwilligan magita moedrish. Ve Jane de Rennie Duster as a chul, as Rennie Cray John. Lesh gera dregere, nel mona, ridden bachte te Kachwilligan logolju. Lurk fargach, dortenies. A chanel mi giri na an mina no cronen magirte mums on chenazolju. De duolian, dreil mirish. Smer de duolian, cren image duolian. Chanel beg on dau de ina. Hugge stappersen hien de daltajum, maar de bech kunjenegge kush ver na ljedelde. As me saw, spunny mir peen shoch en nageert, ter square by dol tajmach, eggen ogel, you. Created bunje. Fe Jane the Doug Renfield Gael dead rau marren segge, noder any sairi rosh, mor de bechi tarna sul Gael vai, genal mi gold taster bij lid na cushion. Mrs. Putnam told me of the ruins of Donachty Castle in Aberdeenshire, noble, inaccessible rock, etc., etc. Well, again, I think this must be Dorothy Wordsworth's attempt to write what she heard, and I think what she calls Donachty will be Donator Castle in Stonehaven in Aberdeenshire, built on a notable outcrop of pudding stone rock. The Dun, the castle, goes back to Pictish times and is also associated with St. Ninian, who established a place of worship there during his mission to convert the Picts to Christianity. Well, presumably Mrs. Putnam had visited the castle, and her description of it formed a good part of the conversation that evening, as Dorothy noted in her diary. And so, July the 4th, Friday. Very rainy night. Sun shines now. Wind high, hope it will clear the mountains. Walk in afternoon upon heights. Alone in morning. Afterwards walked with Henry to the harbour of Peace, that's back to Portashee, which he'd visited 2 days previously, and up the valley. I suppose this would be along the River Glass towards Tramode. Well, here's Breton singer GWENNYN again with a song called, I think it's Ebin. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced, but it could be Ebin or Ebin. So GWENNYN.
Nos palos quedaron dos dochante divan. Hagavidin talani, besa kums malaredit, o kimyadia mongui. Puisqu'ils ont talani, isheli, no maine, hagagish, Lavardin talanik, super nezel désir, dreus me les horreurs franquis. Lavardin talanik, et chéri, non ma aîné, un gagish, non ma rallon dem gone. Et chéri, non ma aîné, un gagon. Lavardin talanik, et tout wieder veachir, gasoran ut bel diusin. Lavardin talanik, he chéri, non ma aîné,
Breton singer GWENNYN, a song in Bresonnais, the Breton language. GWENNYN Luan, as I say, was from Rennes, although it's a French-speaking area of Brittany, it is the capital of Brittany, and she came from a Breton-speaking family. In fact, I think I read that she attended a Diwan school, Breton language school, which had been established by her uncle. Anyway, I looked at the song. The title is E-B-E-N, it's spelt, which means the other one, and the phonetic transcription of it suggested a nasalization with it, so I think it's Ebon. I'm guessing it's a song about a disillusioned lover and a parting, as Ebon means the other one in Breton. Now, Dorothy Wordsworth notes, very pretty overarched bridge, neat houses and hanging gardens and blooming fences, the same that are so ugly seen from a distance. The wind sweeping those fences, they glance and intermingle colours as bright as gems. The valley altogether very pretty. So, as I say, I presume this is somewhere in the Traa area that she's talking about, or writing about. And then she says, couldn't go to the two valleys so much talked of by Henry. No clue as to which they particularly were, perhaps Abbeylands and East Baldwin if they're accessible from the Traa area. Sun retires in afternoon, but Joanna walks with me to Pier. So here we are back to the Red Pier, very popular destination. I joined Mr. and Mrs. Putnam on the steep. Rough sea and wild wind, but very pleasant walking. Mr. and Mrs. P came home with me, and sit till 11 o'clock. Saturday, she now writes, without noting that that's the 5th of July. Very bright morning. Wrote to Mrs. H, and then to Duke's Gardens, which are beautiful. Now, these are the gardens. I'm not going to say wrote to Mrs. H. I wonder which Mrs. H is. We've heard of Joanna Hutchinson and Henry Hutchinson, and we've heard of Sarah Hutchinson, to whom she writes, but now this is Mrs. H. I'm not quite sure, is that their mother perhaps still living? But anyway, she's gone now to the gardens of the Castle Mona. Rather than as lucky as lieten de fai wegge, Martha Shakespeare chitaru. Brúliach a chubbert wie, mar ad a sly grey. Tammy reirish uljuan sort shen de wachtned. Kaart gemaid you cor dunje moleculen lesh pyr de vagin chop, as de choreber tarn me Gael den a carnivora slew, tret a fisse mer sen vis rom. Tammy Tiggle, doort me, tau giri ridden moera, for the Gael sledden graham fiegeljay. Crain me gewoon gie elephant ra hai brische traste. Crain bachte des homages tashu de lord. Wij chit de wij raw hier inchenach, maar so smunny me de ginnens KAARJYN de John. Tammy gindes doort me de smunjachtach. Cray gurish, ta anam elephant. Van aertes van mischere, rughetten. No de denketje leerach vai bij boerlach, as henke de weine feitjerish. Genel me keri anam elephant, na anam mechorer bij, doorte. Now this is a song that starts at An Charish Omajach and finishes with bad news on Mara Lai Inid, the morning of Ash Wednesday, which will be coming up this week. So which gives us a strange juxtaposition of Ash Wednesday with St. Valentine's Day this year, certainly not in this song.
Merish na fiddler en nek en trenalik, Esh hoiach vich mirish krai machri, The graiach heishin shis coooidjagh, Gaushin an taiach jenen suri. Vi du die ek vi boiach gezellen, Vami karel de fuzai, As tami merenjach moras bechach, Ons liadian glas the jean chan ren we. Washani shen gas country bliana, the menik vami as mograi mi jail, and Claare vek falza as Genya viola, nach Giennach imesh the breche Gael. Mochriva gien al golda savalja, harauni pianach siechendus, en giet skiel geel me mar alleened. The rauw mag is verelje post.
Brian MacStole and the song of a man who thought he'd found the love of his life at the Christmas, but found out on the morning of Ash Wednesday that she'd gone and married someone else. Rish tullach na ghe ve na haid a lag chriach. Dal tajimach renne limen a chiado, les na sulien eg a lonrige, as ulien na monach en jay griesige inchenach. Gus nuren jatzes les na an minen dilia, kren vet au burrami machon an minen. Na wel kuschen de loo de vorrami, de chor pien dau, de chor sharen mi, gen smunien an minen. Now, the Castle Mona was built to the design of George Stewart in 1803-04 for John Murray, the 4th Duke of Atholl. John Murray's last visit to the island came in 1826, 2 years before Dorothy Wordsworth's visit. And after the Duke's death in Scotland in 1830, the Castle Mona was put on the market. It was finally sold to become a hotel. However, we'll hear Dorothy Wordsworth's description of the Duke's gardens as they were in 1828 next time. As ma saw Shene by Claare na Gael a Chir Chaw. 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening are on their way, courtesy of Chris Pearson between 7 and 9. And then at 9, Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown. We close Claare na Gael with music by a band from Padstow in Cornwall, the Stows, with The Regrettable Reels. Cartnish Creelivis Regreach. Until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve I'm a Crieri was Orserlier, as my Yeri and shared you William.